In the northern sea's darkness, there was a vast fish named Kun, its length unknown by thousands of li. It transforms into the mighty bird Peng, with a back stretching thousands of li and wings like clouds across the sky. When the seas stir, Peng begins its journey to the southern darkness, the pool of heaven. Records say, as Peng flies south, it stirs the waters for 3,000 li and rises 90,000 li on the 6th-month gale. Below, the wind scatters dust and living things, and the sky looks endlessly blue. But is this true color, or does the sky appear so because of its boundless distance? From above, the great bird sees the same endless blue when looking down that we see looking up.
If water is not piled up deep enough, it cannot support a large boat. Pour a cup of water into a small hollow, and scraps will float like tiny boats, but set the cup itself on the puddle and it will only stick fast, for the water is too shallow and the boat too large. Likewise, if the wind is not gathered in great strength, it cannot bear up great wings. When the Peng rises 90,000 li, he relies on the mighty wind beneath him, resting on its power with the light of heaven on his back and nothing to restrain him. Only then can he follow his course to the south, unhindered, carried by the strength and depth of his supporting force. A cicada and a little dove laughed at the idea of something flying 90,000 li to the south. The cicada said, "When we try to fly, we make a considerable effort and can get as far as the elm or sappanwood tree, but sometimes we don't even make it and just fall down to the ground. How can anyone possibly travel that far?" If you go on an outing to the greenwoods nearby, you can take along enough food for 3 meals and return with a full stomach. If you're going 100 li, you must grind your grain the night before. But if you are going 1,000 li, you need to start getting provisions together 3 months in advance. The morning mushroom, which sprouts and dies by evening, knows nothing of twilight and dawn. The summer cicada knows nothing of spring and autumn. They are the short-lived. In the southern part of the state of Chu, there is a vast creature for whom 500 years is but one spring, and 500 years is but one autumn. And long, long ago, there was a giant tree, for whom spring was 8,000 years, and for whom autumn was 8,000 years. They are the long-lived. Yet, Peng Zhu alone is famous today for having lived a long time, and everybody tries to imitate him. Isn't it pitiful? When Emperor Tang debated with his wise minister Qi, he asked, "Do up, down, and the 4 directions have a limit?" Qi replied thoughtfully, "Beyond their limitlessness, there is another limitlessness. In the barren north, there is a dark sea called the Lake of Heaven. In it lives a great fish named Kun, several thousand li across, though no one knows its length. When Kun transforms, it becomes a bird named Peng. Peng's back is like Mount Tai, and its wings are like clouds, filling the sky, covering the heavens. It rises upon a great whirlwind, leaping into the air and soaring up 90,000 li, piercing through the clouds and mist, shouldering the clear blue sky. Then it turns its eyes south to begin its journey to the vast southern darkness, bound for the distant southern ocean. A little bird laughed at Peng, saying, 'Where does he think he's going? I leap into the air, but after only a few feet, or 10 or 12 yards at most, I flutter back down into the bushes and brambles. This is the ultimate in flying, so where does he think he's going?' This shows the difference between the great and the small. In the same way, there are those whose wisdom qualifies them for one office, whose conduct wins respect in a single village, whose virtue pleases a single ruler, or whose talents mark them for service in one state. They view themselves with pride, but such pride is like that of the quail before the Peng, little knowing the difference between vastness and smallness. Master Sun laughed at such people. Even if the whole world praised him, he would not exert himself. Even condemned, he would not be disheartened. He drew a clear line between the inner and the outer, and saw the difference between honor and disgrace, yet left some ground untraveled because he did not cross certain boundaries. The great Laozi could ride the wind, drifting freely, soaring about with breezy ease. For 15 days at a time he would wander before returning to the ground. In pursuing good fortune, he did not fret or worry, escaping the burden of walking. Yet he still depended on something, the wind, for his freedom. Suppose instead there was one who rose upon the truth of heaven and earth itself, who rode upon the transformations of the 6 vital breaths, and voyaged into boundless infinity. Such a one would depend on nothing at all. Thus it is said, "The perfect man has no self. The spiritual man has no accomplishment. The sage has no name."
Emperor Yao, feeling the heavy weight of ruling all under heaven, sought to pass the throne to the Hsu Yu. Emperor Yao said, "When the sun and moon have risen, it is a waste to keep the torches lit. When the seasonal rains fall, it is unnecessary to go on irrigating the fields. Now, master, if you were to assume the throne, everything under heaven would be in harmony. Yet, as I remain in power, I only see my failings and inadequacies. Permit me, therefore, to yield the world to you." Hsu Yu replied quietly, yet firmly, "You already govern all under heaven, and it is well governed. If I were to replace you, would people not claim I did so for the sake of fame? But fame is only the shadow of reality, like a guest beside the host. Would I then strive after a shadow? The tailor bird nests deep in the forest, but uses only a single branch. The mole drinks from the great river, yet takes no more than to fill its belly. Why should I burden myself with the rulership of the world when I have no need for it? Even should the cook fail in his duties, it is not the place of the shaman to leap over his pots and take his role. Return to your post, my lord, and dispense with this matter, for I have no use for the throne." Jian Wu said to Lien Shu, "I was listening to Yu's words. They sounded impressive, but lacked substance, going on endlessly without reaching any conclusion. I was astounded by his speech, which seemed as limitless as the Milky Way, filled with extravagant claims far removed from human experience." "What did he say?" asked Lien Shu. "He spoke of a holy man who dwells on the distant Mount Couché, whose skin is like congealed snow and ice, gentle and shy as a virgin. He does not eat the 5 grains, but inhales the wind and drinks the dew. He rides upon clouds and mist, drives flying dragons, and wanders beyond the 4 seas. By concentrating his spirit, he protects all creatures from sickness and plague, bringing bountiful harvests each year. I thought this was complete madness and refused to believe such words." "Indeed," replied Lien Shu, "a blind man cannot appreciate beautiful patterns, nor can a deaf man enjoy the sound of bells and drums. But blindness and deafness exist not only in the body, they afflict the understanding as well, as your own words have just demonstrated. This man, with such virtue, is ready to embrace all 10,000 things and unite them as one. Though our age calls for reform, why should he exhaust himself with worldly affairs? Nothing can harm such a spirit man, but if floodwaters pile up to heaven, he will not drown. Even if a great drought melts metal and stone and scorches the hills, he will not burn. From his dust and remnants alone, one could mold a Yao or a Shun. Why should he consent to trouble himself with mere things?" A merchant from the state of Song traveled to the land of Yue to sell ceremonial caps. However, the people of Yue cut their hair short and adorned their bodies with tattoos, rendering such formal headwear completely useless. Great Emperor Yao had brought order and peace to all people under heaven and governed everything within the 4 seas with wisdom and virtue. Yet when he journeyed to the distant Mount Couché to visit the 4 masters, upon his return to his capital north of the Fen River, he fell into a profound daze and completely forgot about his vast empire and all its affairs. This ancient tale reveals a profound truth. What we consider valuable or important is often just cultural illusion. The merchant learned that meaning depends on context, but Emperor Yao discovered something even deeper.
that even perfect worldly success becomes meaningless when we awaken to our true nature. Master Hui said to Master Chuang, "The king of Wei gave me seeds of an enormous gourd. I planted them, and when they grew, the fruit was large enough to hold 5 bushels. I tried using it as a water container, but it was so heavy I couldn't lift it. When I split it in half to make ladles, they were too large and unwieldy. The curvature was so slight they couldn't dip into anything properly. Although the gourd was admittedly huge, I found it completely useless, so I smashed it to pieces." Master Chuang replied, "My friend, you are truly dense when it comes to using big things. In the state of Song, there was a man skilled at making an ointment that prevented chopped hands. For generations, his family had made their living bleaching silk and water, earning only a few pieces of gold. A traveler heard about this ointment and offered to buy the secret formula for 100 measures of gold. The man called his family together for counsel and said, 'For generations, we've been bleaching silk and never made more than a few measures of gold. Now we can earn 100 measures in one morning. Let's sell the secret.' The traveler obtained the formula and went to the king of Wu, who was at war with the state of Yue. The king appointed the stranger to command his naval forces. That winter, they fought a water battle against Yue's army. Because the Wu sailors' hands didn't become chapped in the cold, they achieved a crushing victory. The traveler was rewarded with a vast estate carved from the conquered territory. The ointment's ability to prevent chapped hands was identical in both cases, yet one person gained a fief while the other family never advanced beyond silk bleaching, all because they used the same thing in completely different ways. Now you, sir, had a gourd capable of holding 5 bushels. Why didn't you think of tying it around your waist as a great buoy so you could float freely on rivers and lakes, instead of worrying that it was too shallow to hold things? This shows that you still have brambles for brains." Master Hui spoke to Master Chuang, saying, "I have a great tree. Its massive trunk is so gnarled and knotted that no measuring line can be applied to it, and its branches are so twisted and bent that neither compass nor square can match them. Though it stands by the roadside, no carpenter gives it a second glance. Your words, Master, are just like this tree, big and useless, spurned by everyone." Master Chuang replied, "Have you never observed a wild cat or weasel? It crouches low, lying in wait for prey, then leaps and races east and west, avoiding neither high nor low places, until it falls into a trap and dies in the net. Then consider the great yak, vast as clouds suspended in the sky. It knows well how to be big, yet for all its size, it cannot catch a single mouse. Now, you, sir, have this great tree and are distressed by its uselessness. Why not plant it in the boundless fields of not even anything village, in those wide open spaces where nothing is expected? There, you could wander in peaceful non-action by its side, or lie down for a carefree sleep beneath its spreading branches. No axe under heaven would threaten its life. Nothing could bring it harm. If there is no use for it, how could it ever come to grief or pain?"